They said he had slaves.
Excuse me?
I said, they said he had slaves.
Stop playing, just tell them the story.
7 years ago, our founding fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. These were the words that pierced through the flesh of racism like razor-sharp darts compassing their noses through the dark to find freedom. These were the words that blanketed the truth blown in the wind as these brave young soldiers felt their way through the darkness of uncertainty just for a chance to fight for their children's futures. Each syllable coded with 50 caliber hollow point bullets striking tyranny sent to mass and leaving oppression on life support with no next of kin to stop doctors from pulling the plug. Destined to be remembered as an almost worthless currency with his back turned away from his country, mocked by the very colors of the pretty faces he helped free. The math is simple. Cause you see, no matter what numerical human value you give us, 3/5, when you add us both up, we both just make sense. So doesn't it just make sense to just love each other?
Excuse me. I have this $5 bill in my pocket, and I was wondering if I can afford a full-course meal. Excuse me? I have this $5 bill in my pocket. Perhaps I can afford a top hat and a 3-piece suit.
Not in this store.
Oh, I see. But don't let my copper frame fool you. My countenance, the overemphasis of a needy cup. But as for the inner workings of my mind's eye, priceless.
It takes 500 pennies to make a $5 bill. It takes 200,000 $5 bills to make $1 million, but what's really $1 million on the price tag of your freedom?
So as far as a penny for my thoughts are concerned, understatement. So why not use me?
Yes.
Use me, why don't you? Make a wish. And when the crown of the coin scrapes the bottom of the well, perhaps you'll simultaneously grasp a grain of common sense to not get caught in appearances. Rather invest 2 cents and smell the audacity of hope. Change. A need for change is a generational precept. It always comes back around. You see, the gospel, like the idea of currency, can never outlive its usefulness. Therefore, time is like 2 centuries my contemporary, which means I can still make a boom.
I collect pennies because even though they aren't worth much to minds lacking the history to know better, ignorance is not bliss for me, it's blasphemy. More like my history's taking a blast at me. So the less I know, the greater the agony of untold facts and misconstrued ideas to what a man has actually done for me. To those of you that judge him, I say, was a shot in the head in front of his wife, not a worthy enough sacrifice upon the altar of freedom. Was dying for freedom abroad and not just your own people's liberty, not a worthy enough cause to be celebrated. If those that curse him will not embrace him, will we, the people he died freeing, leave his spirit to roam without a place to call home?
Faith in the dead president, hardly. Rather in God we entrust the spirit of a man, not the punchlines of political rhetoric, or the slapstick of bipartisan tensions, or the shit transparency of promises unkept, which leads you to ponder twice if one should use them as Ziploc bags to hold your breath. No, this is the real thing, and there's nothing like the real thing, baby. Like the reassurance of vinyl spun over wobbly turntables, cut with provocatively lucid quotes to serve as time and samples to remind us. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection.
It seemed that everyone down under was dreading a decision about a Mr. Scott. It seemed that 3630 was not a clear enough line for those that only saw a future if it involved mountains of money. Mountains of lies and mountains of cotton, mountains of dreams washed away by the spinning currents of ignorance. His days were numbered. It happened on a Good Friday, but what good was that Friday when the good died young that day?
It is obvious today that America has defaulted on its promissory notes, insofar as the citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice has bankrupt, so we come to cash this check.
With a top hat, a bushy beard, and an awkward gait, this heroic leader signed what we now know as
The 13th Amendment.
And I know that rights are still being disputed and there's still work to be done. But let us not forget that there had to be a valiant start to any mission of this caliber. Remember that someone had to carry the torch through the shadows of our history all the way to the forefront so that a man born in Honolulu, made from the love of opposite races that once hated each other and yet came together, would lead us. This, our great young champion, Barack Obama, was procreated as an example of just how beautiful our futures could be if we respect and love each other, just like Dr. King always wanted us to.
And like finding myself in the eye of a distant stranger, I became familiar with the former acquaintance of change in two perspectives. From hearing the homeless man singing on the train, a change gon' come, to digging deep into my pockets, hungry, hoping a change gon' come.
November 4th, 2008, election night.
Jaw hits knee level. A gasp of disbelief echoes a moment of silence. Then the pin drops. The crowd roars. Brooklyn's inner city circuit is deafened with honks, gunshots, fireworks, and screams of the entire nation. The cradle of civilization gives praise. Women cry. Men dance. Children run barefoot in streets chasing the Big Dipper in broad daylight. Finally, the mirage of the figure in the mirror continents away look familiar. I collect pennies.
Because the life so precious and deserving of my praise should be filling my pockets full of its memories. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Mr. Lincoln, and may your name echo forever in the hallways of freedom where the very fabric of our belief bears the blue burning flame that is liberty.
And the son of the morning settles her hopes, but Gabriel hand delivers this letter onto the doorstep of a true beginning of the 21st century marked, to whom this may concern. Come, taste and see, the great-granddaughter of slaves now residing in the house they built. This is what I call a paradigm shift. Jehovah quietly witnesses as the angels testify. God bless us all, and God bless the United States of America. Mr. Lincoln, we remember you.
Yeah.